So this is really, really important. So first thing I would say to them is the way the moderation system works is that any user on the platform can report a comment or a post, but the moderators are the people who can decide to remove it from the system. Who are the moderators? The moderators are course reps in the private and the public area of the board, Unitu in the private and public area of the board. We look at all moderation tickets on a daily basis, and staff. And they can only moderate feedback that's in the public, i.e. the open, progress, and closed area of the feedback board. Now, the way the moderation system works, it has a 3-strike policy. So if a user has their feedback reported and then removed either by a rep, Unitu, or a staff member, they get their first strike. The first strike is a warning. So to find out where the 3-strike policy is, it's on our content policy, which you can find if I decide to, for example, go to a comment, click on report, and go to the content policy. So the content policy is here, unitu.co.uk/content policy. And you can see the 3-strike policy here. So first warning, when a user has their feedback removed or the comment removed, it's just literally saying, we're warning you that if this happens again, there would be an additional strike, and that additional strike, which would be the second strike, would be having their anonymity disabled. So if they receive a second strike, automatically the functionality for them to post anonymously will be disabled. If it happens a third time, Unitu will know who that user is because they're no longer anonymous, and their account will then be suspended from the system. So it's really important that you take real consideration before removing a piece of feedback. What we suggest you do is that when you are looking at the decision of deciding to remove or not remove a feedback, is go to the content policy and look at clearly what is prohibited. So let's take the example of this comment. Let's say a user reports it and says it's rude or offensive, and then they explain why, they click submit. You as reps will receive an email notification letting them know, letting you know that there's a content that's been reported. You can then go to the reported content here where it says moderation. You will see 16 seconds ago in Department of Sociology board, there's a report for a feedback or a comment that is rude or offensive. Click on view it, view content, and then I can decide does violate the content policy. And here it says, thank you very much, we will look into this. This is not rude or offensive, and it doesn't violate the content policy. So I would put do not remove and click close this report and explain why. And one of my reasons why would be that it does not violate the content policy. Now, let's say, for example, this comment says something quite offensive about a staff member. I would then click on remove this content, click close this report, go to the content policy, which you can click on here, and see where it says here. So threatening, abusive, or aggressive language, or crude content. This is probably the one that I would use. So something abusive or inappropriate about a staff member. And then click on remove. And then if I click submit, then that user will receive a strike. And they will receive an email saying that they have their first, second, or third strike. So that's how the moderation functionality works. Now, as a first case scenario, when you do see feedback that has been either reported or you are the first person to view it, or no one has reported it, but you see comment that seems a little bit inappropriate, but the concern is valid, we suggest doing something slightly different before reporting it or before deciding to remove it. What we would encourage you to do is actually have a dialogue with that user. So here's an example of a course rep seeing a feedback created by a user, which was a valid concern about a lecturer and a module, but they used inappropriate language. So you can see here, the course rep says, hi, Anon, I'm a student rep. I'm sorry to read you had such a poor experience with the person's name. However, can I first ask you to edit your post and remove your F word? Otherwise, I'll have to report the content, which may ultimately cause its removal, something I would like to avoid. I would much rather focus on the issue raised by you. From what you said, there are a couple of points I would like to discuss further. Explanation about some of the issues, and then another explanation about some of the issues. And then what we found is an hour to 2 hours later, the author of the feedback post edited it, removed the F word from the comments, and then that the course rep was able to escalate the feedback to the staff members to take the appropriate action. So we would definitely, as a first point, focus on this model, this behavior first. If the user doesn't change the content, then feel absolutely free to remove it from the system. You've given the user a chance. You've allowed them to have the opportunity not to receive a strike. But if it is something that they do not change, then do feel free to actually report and remove the comment or the content.